I am Chris Phoenix, and this is the third attempt, because it's awesome like that. If you follow us on BGFG, you'll know this is a cursed thing that happens to us. Anyway, so this is going to be the 50 minutes or less buyer's guide for Gen Xers, whether they're buying for the kids and themselves, graphics processors, and monitors. Basically, we do it in under 50 minutes because that's all you really need is a nutshell. It's very rare that we're going to go over that mark, that 15-minute mark. Definitely a topic that I'm sure I would get emails or comments on, because I'm not going to go in depth. Yes, this one's better than that one for this particular reason, or this one has ray tracing, which is a whole nother topic. I understand. I get that. This is not for that. This is for people that really don't. This is for people that I meet on a day-to-day basis, and they said, do you do stuff like this? Where can I find? This is how you find out more. This is where people are going to come and get these quick reviews or suggestions, because they don't care about all the little. I've trained people as well as doing it myself, where I'll get into a topic across from a client, and as I'm talking and I'm going in depth on something, whether it's a graphics card or something else, processing, their eyes have just glazed over. And they have no idea what I'm talking about at that point. So this is going to take away all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. This is going to make it real easy for you to make an educated decision at the brick and mortar store that you go to, or sitting in your pajamas going to Amazon. So the first thing we're going to tackle right away is the monitors. Monitors are, look, if you look at a monitor, and that, I don't care anything in life, you look at something and you go, damn. And it takes your breath away. I don't care if it's a car, a bicycle, a motorcycle, shirt, dress, jacket. If it's something, you'll know those times in your life where you grab it and you're like, oh, wow. If a monitor does that for you, that's exactly what I'm looking for aesthetically, then make sure it meets your requirements and go with it. But for the most part, you don't even have to worry about any sort of that stuff. Here's what you need to worry about. With any monitor, any size, you want to worry about your refresh rate. That's the most important thing. Most of the time, growing up, all we had was 60 hertz. And that's all you ever saw, and that's what everything was 60 hertz. That's it. Now, that could do 60 frames or whatever pretty comfortably. Usually it stays lower than that. I believe it could do 60 frames. Yeah, it should be able to. And then it varies in screen sizes. The refresh rate is measured in hertz. So you're looking at the hertz of it. It's basically how many individual frames can be displayed in 1 second. So 60 hertz is what we used to have. 144 is pretty much where we're at now. You can get some 240s. I believe Acer's making one for like $800 that does 168 or something like that. So anything 144 and better is what you're looking for. That's great. That's going to run you. Now, expect to spend on the upper mid-range. You're looking at $1,000, $700, that price range, 7 to 8, 7 to 1,000. That's going to get you a 49-inch Samsung monitor with a killer refresh rate. That's going to get you your widescreen Alienwares, your widescreen Samsungs. There's just so many of them that are going to get in that price range. But your refresh rate is what you want. 144 is where it's at. That's going to be your ideal. Now, the other thing is the response time. Now, the response time is how fast clicking, typing, things like that, interactions are going to get to that screen, in a nutshell. You want the less that you possibly can. 1 millisecond being what you want. You want to stay below 3. That's kind of where you want. This type of monitor can do great. Now, the second part of this aggravating equation is the 4K question. And it kills me, because 4K is great. I'm not going to ever deny 4K. 4K is an unbelievable looking image. In fact, I think I have one right here. 4K is awesome. And it looks great. But we're not quite there yet. As a society, as a generation, I don't even know how to put that. We're not quite there yet. So with 4K, you have below that, you have 1440p, and then you have below that 1080p. 1080p is what my generation, Generation X, will know the most, because we're the ones that went from the old standard size television 4:3 ratio to the 16:9 ratio, and we started seeing 720p and 1080p and understanding what that was. It was a big deal. We were younger. We were buying our televisions in our homes for the first time, and we were asked the question of, do you guys want a high definition? 1080p, that's where it's at. And then there was, this TV doesn't do it, that TV doesn't do it. So it was confusing. But the bottom line is right now, 1080p is kind of post facto. It's the default. 1080p is good. So most of your monitors are going to have 1080p. And you can get a pretty inexpensive monitor. You're looking at something more in the mid-range. These are the monitors that have the sweet spot from $700 right down to, about $500. These are going to get you really cool features. They're going to get you high refresh rates. They're going to have a lot of bells and whistles on them. There's actually not a super amount. I mean, that's probably the biggest chunk of the monitors you're going to see between there. I would even dip down to about $300. You can get a pretty decent monitor for that. But again, you're looking at your refresh rate, 140 hertz, 1 millisecond response time. Outside of that, what style do you want? For instance, you can get an ultra wide, like a 49-inch Samsung. You can get a 34-inch wide, like the Alienware, and the LG makes one. You can get small. You can do a 32-inch. My spare monitor, I believe, is a 32. It's a really good size. I mean, I remember being a kid, getting a 32-inch monitor was insane, but these are half the size of that. And it's a good chunk of size. You can go down to 27, or if you wanted to, for $400, I think it was, there's a Dell that is a 24-inch. And again, if that fits your price range, or if you were hoping on an 8, you can get 2 of those monitors. That thing does like 240 megahertz refresh rate. It's a 1080p. If you can get a 1440p monitor with the specs that you want, you got to stay 120 hertz or higher, really, on the refresh rate on your monitor, and you can get one that's 1440. That's a steal right there. I could be sitting here showing you pictures and giving you prices and how much you should pay. That's really garbage. I work in the retail world. I know for a fact that the price is going to change nonstop between November and December, and even going into January when you have all your overstock being sold. So the price is going to vary. You're going to find the best price for you with discounts and all sorts of other things. But if you can get 1440, that's where it's at. Seriously, our age group, guys, don't worry about 4K right now on your monitor. If you can get it, great. I had somebody that came in the other day that had come into some money, and had us build a computer that had dual 2080s. And his whole thing was that he bought a 4K monitor. I don't know if I think he was using a TV. But it's like, great, that's great. But the 4K stuff, I mean, again, content has to be there. You're going to see it. But even if you have 4K content and you push it down to a 1440 or a 1080p screen, it's really going to look phenomenally good. So don't think you need to get a 4K monitor. That's going to be really expensive. And in order to drive that 4K, you're going to need a very good graphics processor, which is the last piece we'll talk about. The graphics processor is a touchy subject with everybody. So here's what I'm going to do to make sure that I don't get yelled at constantly and get a boatload of emails and harassed when I'm playing a game. You have 2 choices. You can go with an AMD card, or you can go with a NVIDIA card. Those are your 2 choices. Your kids are going to sit there and tell you all day long, if this is for the kids' purchase, that they need a 2080. They don't. It's almost $1,000 for that card, and if they go with the TI or the titanium, it's going to be somewhere around $1,300 to $1,500. They can get there. I don't think that's needed at all. It depends on what you're doing. When you're an adult and you're doing stuff, and you guys have been around for a while, and we've been gaming since the dawn of gaming, then you know that, okay, if I can splurge and I have a little bit extra money, I want to get myself a 2080. But we're also the people that are going to keep that card for 6-7 years until that thing just basically won't play a game that we want it to play anymore. That's the way we grew up. But one of the cool features is one of the cool things about graphics cards is that you can get away with a very good graphics card for very short money, and it will get things done. As I've tried to explain to kids that come to my store and my kids alone, it's your experience. We had 8-bit, 16-bit, 64-bit, whatever. We had shitty looking games growing up. My generation did. But to us, that Ferrari looked unbelievably good. It looked like a brand new one right off the show lot. That was our imagination kicking in. Now you have graphics getting to the point where you really don't have to use your imagination as much. You just have to suspend your belief in some cases. But with the graphics cards, you don't need a huge card. Now, I want to say first, before I start recommending cards, you have to make sure it meets requirements. Whether you're looking online or you're going to a brick and mortar, ask somebody. Make a phone call. Ask a tech specialist. If you buy this card, because this is the one that meets you, do I have enough power to do it? You might have to bring your computer into a shop to have them look at it. You might have to update your power supply. That is almost always going to happen, especially if you have a computer that's older, that you just want to put a better graphics card in, which I don't recommend. Build one or buy a pre-built. That way you can expand. We'll get to that later. But with the graphics cards, make sure that the power supply is going to meet your needs, because that's one of the most common things I see is that the graphics card doesn't have enough power, and it won't work right. So make sure the graphics card works. Now, on to the graphics cards. As you do more research, you'll learn more. But essentially, NVIDIA and AMD. NVIDIA has cards that are 2080, 2070, 2060. I don't think they make it 2050. No, they don't. And then the 1660 technically is their numerical numbers. On the AMD side, for a while it was 590, 580, 570. Now they have the 5700, I believe, is the newest card, which, funny that they released what should be their lowest modeled, and it's really good. But I'm an AMD fan, so I'm going to be biased toward them, unfortunately. But NVIDIA's got good products. So when your child sits there and says they want a 20, if you're an adult, you already know what you want. Go get it. It's not going to be a big difference between the MSI version of these cards or the Asus version, but again, that's for another time. When it comes to the graphics cards, a 1660 card will do just fine. A 590 card will do just fine. The 5700 AMD will do just fine. A lot of these kids are looking at these cards, and I find adults doing it too. They're looking at these cards and just looking at sheer numbers. And they're going to websites, PC Builder, User Benchmark, great sites, but they're looking at sheer numbers. This one's in the red and this one's in the green. This one does, but when you look at it closely, it's like, okay, this particular game, that card did 103 frames per second on an average, and this one did 102. One frame? Really? You're going to make a huge decision on one frame. You want to have a good experience. That's all that really matters, is you want to have a good experience and produce graphics that are acceptable to the PC Master Race. So the 1660 is a great card. The 1660S or the 1660 Super that just came out is like $270. That's a great deal. The AMD 590 is $180. AMD cards are always going to be less expensive. We can go into a whole debate for that, but we can. And the difference is literally, you'll have a game. I was looking it up earlier. You'll have a game that'll do 113 frames per second on an AMD card, and the NVIDIA card will do 125. That's a good amount of jump numbers wise. In reality, when you're playing, that might be a matter of 4 or 5 seconds when a firefight starts or a bomb explodes. Is that really going to matter to you overall? Probably not, because when you get out of some of these caves, like in Star Wars Fallen Order rather, you come out and you look at these screens and you're like, wow, that's really beautiful. That's really good looking. I'm not concerned with what the hell frames I'm getting at that exact moment. Again, a lot of these people are concerning themselves, and kids are looking at this because they're watching semi-pro and professional gamers. Yes, that shit matters to them, and it should. These guys are going on the line for, $10, $15, $20,000, if not more, per match. So when it comes to these graphics cards, get what's economical to you. They're going to have a good experience. whether they like it or not. Now, can they play their game on Ultra? They might not. Even on Assassin's Creed, I turned down my rig. I shut off like smoke and a couple of other things that I just don't care about. I don't care. I'm not going to notice. It doesn't matter to me. So when you get a graphics card, get what economically works for you, and then make sure your power supply in the computer will match. The last thing I want to cover, and I think it's more important, really, is when you're doing something for your child for Christmas, okay? Now, people shit all over iBuyPower and CyberPower, and a lot of their stuff is not very good, but there is some stuff that's pretty good. But the more important thing, right now is that you get them something to start off with. When you go buy that HP or that Dell computer that's kind of all encased in gray, or it has a wonderful case, that's not something that has expandability. You're probably not going to be able to replace the power supply in it, and the motherboard's going to be smaller form factor or something. It's not a computer build. If your son or daughter is a computer player, they're playing on their computer or on their laptop, and that's what they do. They don't really play a console. They prefer a computer experience. Then go the extra mile. Get them one of these computers, even if it's not that expensive. I saw one that was literally, you were paying for the graphics card. It had a 2070 in it, and it was like $800, I think. And I'm like, you're paying for this graphics card, and they're giving you the computer for free, the case and the motherboard and everything else. Is it the greatest motherboard in the world? Probably not, but it's going to get them by. More importantly, it's a buildable case. So if you have a kid, boy, girl, old, young, doesn't matter, get them a good computer case. It's always a good thing, even for a Christmas gift, because it gives them a way to build upon that. They can just keep buying parts and upgrading parts. And it also adds a benefit as a parent that you'll be able to sit down, learn with them. I mean, watch a couple of YouTube videos, go to ifixit.com and watch a video on how to do something. It's relatively easy. And sit down with your kid and have an experience, have a moment with them when you build something and you fire it up on the computer for the first time, or it doesn't fire up and you fix it. You remember you didn't plug something in, and then you fire it up. That moment is going to be forever with your child. And experience that moment, especially like with the graphics card. Look up how to do it. Maybe practice on your own rig if you've never done it before. And then when they get their new graphics card, say, hey, let's me and you put that together. It's an experience, and it's something that we should all be looking out for. So that's my little nutshell, quick suggestions on monitors and GPUs. I know it didn't seem like a lot, but I'm telling you, it's like GPUs. Should I get the MSI? Should I get the Asus? Look, that could be a whole different show, because you just, I don't know. There's differences in each. Is it something that you care about? Do you care to overclock? Do you even know what that is? Most kids know about it, but I wouldn't recommend letting them do it. It's just, do you like blowers? Do you like blowers or do you like fans? There's a difference in those. So it's, just go with what's economically affordable to you. Most important thing, get a case for the child, that they can build upon and do something with you. Make it an experience. Make even the shopping experience together. Talk to them about graphics cards. Slyly, or monitors. Oh, did you see that new Asus monitor? That thing's awesome. Take him to the store. Just tell him you got to go to the store to get something. Take him down to like your local Best Buy or Target, and have him walk through. Just go, oh, look at this thing. That looks pretty good, huh? Just a suggestion. Have a good holiday, and I hope this helped.